Shout out to those ridiculous people that claim they hate the snow but then never move away from where it snows. Like, there are people out there that say that snow is great, like, you get to make snowmen and like little snow angels, but there's always a slight possibility of you making that with yellow snow, okay? I'm just throwing it out there. Also, the tip of your fingers could potentially fall off, or your nose. I know the chances of that happening are extremely low, but still, why take a chance? Okay, I'll look at snow like maybe once a year and I'll come back home where I can enjoy 130-degree weather, okay? I'm just not built like that. I'm not playing in snow where there's a slight possibility of running into yellow snow or little tiny dog turds. I'm good, okay? That's grody. Anyways, all jokes aside, let's get straight into today's video because we're talking action figures. If you thought we were going to talk about anything else aside from that, who are you? Where are you from? You've clearly never watched any of my videos, and that's okay. I'm actually sorry that you've never had such amazing quality content in your life up to this point. But anyways, let's get into it. I actually wanted to talk about potentially one of my favorite action figure manufacturers out there, and that is Jada Toys. Now, if you guys have watched any amount of my content, you guys will know that this is potentially one of my favorite action figure manufacturers out there at that 1/12 scale, or just in general, just in terms of like action figures. I think Jada Toys manufactures the best collectibles out there, or at least one of like the top 3 best manufacturers out there. They always give you a ton of quality for a very, very reasonable price point, and I definitely appreciate that from Jada Toys. However, I was at work today because yes, I work for a living, okay? You guys may think that I just, sit around talking about action figures all day, but no, I have a regular 9 to 5, and I actually ran across his listing from Toy Shiz. He's the first one that kind of put me onto this. Now, I did miss the original pre-order window. I'm just going off of what people were saying, and then I think I just was able to catch a glimpse of 2 of the listings. That was the Bubble Man and the Woodman action figure. I was only able to take a screenshot, I think, of Bubble Man. Woodman had already been sold out, as well as the unmasked Mega Man. But from my understanding, these figures are now supposed to be retailing for $34.99. Now, I kind of always assumed that from both Bubble Man and Woodman, because it appeared that they came with some kind of hefty extra accessories, and the figures themselves were pretty big and bulky and wide. But honestly, I'm a little bit shocked that they would push the price to this particular point. $34.99 is no joke. Now, I actually went on to Big Bad Toy Store, and they actually still had their figures at $29.99. Those exact same 3 figures. It's the Bubble Man, Woodman, as well as the unmasked Mega Man action figure. However, I'm going to assume that there will be a minor price hike there. Maybe they're not including the tariffs, and this happens pretty consistently. You'll go on Big Bad Toy Store, and there will actually be a little disclaimer underneath the price point saying that tariff prices are being excluded. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on here, because this was kind of like the first wave to actually hit retail, and so it appears $34.99 may be the new price point. We just don't know at this point. As I mentioned, Big Bad Toy Store still has them at $29.99, which is going to be very intriguing moving forward. So I don't know what the whole political landscape is. I'll be honest with you guys, I don't really follow it that closely unless it like has to do with action figures, because that's what we do on this channel. We talk about action figures, but it appears that that could be one of the big major reasons here. We've also heard a lot of these smaller manufacturers struggling. We've talked incessantly about Super 7. We just talked about Diamond Select and how they actually went out of business. So apparently things continue to get even worse, and this is just a prime example of that. What's crazy is when this action figure line first launched, if I'm not mistaken, they were being made available at the $19.99 price point. Like, you can actually still go on Big Bad Toy Store, and I think like Elecman and Cutman, I think, are still available at that $19.99 price point. I think eventually some figures here and there popped up to that $24.99 price point, and then we were being kind of like programmed to think that the $29.99 price point was going to be the norm moving forward. So I don't know, my tiny little brain isn't quite computing exactly what's going on. This is all on the heels of their E-Honda action figure being offered for $34.99, I think, through Big Bad Toy Store, and I saw multiple different retailers have them available at that $34.99 price point. But as I mentioned previously, these smaller retailers are not accounting for tariffs or the extra fees that they have to pay. Usually they mark those up when they're ready to ship and when they know exactly how much it's going to cost to get the consumer the product. And so I'm not 100% sure if this is the new price point or if that's just a placeholder placeholder for the time being, and then moving forward we'll get a clear image on how much action figures are going to cost, because we already know that the Marvel Legends line has popped up, or is supposed to be popping up, to $27.99. So could this spell like really bad news the deeper we go into 2025 and then moving into 2026? Could there be even one more price hike for these smaller manufacturers? Now, as I mentioned before, I'm still going to stick it out with Jada Toys. If I find a really good action figure from them, I will pick them up. You know, the Street Fighter line, I've been casually picking them up. I'm not going so hardcore into them. I think I have like 4 to 5 figures at this point. I did pick up an extra Mega Man action figure. It was the Elecman. Not too long ago, it was on clearance on Walmart, and so I think they even have a couple of other Mega Man figures on sale for like $10. So I'll definitely be picking those up. But I think moving forward, it's going to get a little bit more intriguing, because Jada Toys doesn't manufacture like big IP names, right? They're not manufacturing Marvel or DC or any of these bigger franchises. They're mostly manufacturing collectibles for a very small fan base. And so that makes me believe that they could be in some real trouble if they continue increasing the price points. Now, I'm not sure if maybe the $34.99 price point is because these figures come with anything really that much extra. Like Mega Man does come with a little minor accessory piece, 2 head sculpts, a couple of extra hands, a blast effect piece, and the stand, which I think is a little bit more than what you usually get from a regular Jada Toys Mega Man. I can't quite remember what the original one came with, but I think it came with like 1 less accessory. I don't know, or did it even come with an alternate head sculpt? If I'm not mistaken, the formula for the previous waves was essentially just a blast effect piece, a couple of extra hands, and then the alternate head sculpt. Here you're getting, I guess, a little bit extra, so maybe that accounts for the price hike. Same thing with Woodman. He comes with his little branch accessory piece, an alternate head sculpt, and then a couple of extra hands, but he is a wider figure. There's much more plastic that is involved there, so maybe that can account for the $34.99 price point, but I just don't see it personally. And it just makes it more interesting because E-Honda just got offered at $34.99, and that figure is a giant behemoth compared to all of these Mega Man figures. I would just say one thing: I am always behind Jada Toys. I think they do a phenomenal job with every single one of their collectibles, even though I have criticized the fact that they're going after like these very small IPs and their fan base just isn't big enough. Like they're doing cereal mascots, which I don't know if I necessarily love that. I'm always finding those at like my local Ross for like 60% off. The Mega Man figures have been hitting like I think 65 to 75% off through multiple different retailers. So I just don't know if there's going to be enough of a support to really accommodate a $34.99 price point. I just don't see it personally. I think a lot of those people that were really interested in this line were okay with, you know, the $24.99 and even the $30 price point, with pushing it to $34.99 I think is completely unrealistic. And as I mentioned, the fan base or the support group is shrinking the higher these price points go. But look, this could be just an outlier. Like I'm assuming maybe it could have been just a random seller that had his stock arrive a little bit earlier, and that's why they decided to mark up the price. Like maybe this wasn't being sold directly through Amazon, because as I mentioned, a lot of other smaller retailers are offering them for $29.99 at this point. So I'm just very confused. I just wanted to bring this to your guys' attention. All 3 of them are up for pre-order along with E-Honda. As is usually the case, Jada Toys is absolutely killing it with their releases. I'm very excited to see what is in the horizon, but I really hope that this has nothing to do with greed. I hope that this is just because of the whole tariff situation and because prices of everything, or the raw materials, is going up, and that's why they were, you know, backed up against a wall and they were forced to drop the prices, because otherwise this is a really bad look for them, especially heading into a time frame where they're going to have the Invincible license. I think they need to start off on the right foot. They need to keep these figures as affordable as they possibly can. I completely get it. Everybody's marking up their figures, but $34.99 I feel like is really pushing it. There are markups happening across the board, but even those that are going out of business, like I actually went to my local Hot Topic and saw a Funko Pop, and not that that matters to anybody on this channel, but I actually saw the markup and it was like 90 cents on these collectibles. So I feel like if people are real, or these companies are realistic, they can, you know, up their prices in a realistic fashion. Marvel Legends line going up by a couple of dollars isn't going to drive people insane. I completely get it. It shouldn't be happening, but marking up your figures over the past like couple of years from $24.99 to $34.99 is quite a bit of a spike, and we'll see how the community reacts. Apparently these figures all sold out through Amazon, so I may just be an absolute buffoon, but in the long run I think things will kind of clarify and we'll be able to distinguish whether this is going to be a long run for Jada or if they're going to run into some roadblocks along the way. But anyways, this is just my personal humble opinion. Were you guys able to reach that new Mega Man pre-order window, or did you completely whiff on them like myself? I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say. Am I just speaking out of turn here, or is there some legitimacy to this? On a side note, I don't know if that was the actual price for the entire wave, because as I mentioned, when I arrived, they only had, I think, 2 figures available. And by the time I was able to get home and really study everything, I was only able to take a screenshot of one of the figures that was going for $34.99. I'm just basing myself off of the internet. Everybody appears to say that they were all up for $34.99. So I'm just going to go with that. But regardless, it's still quite a bit of a hefty price. Will you pay it? Let me know down below. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure to enjoy the hobby. Pose your action figures, play around with them, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you.